I announced the winners of the promo code card creation contest as well as the podcast contest, and then talk about the new interesting take on the Terra Inflames event today. What up, everybody? Scuffy here, and it is time. The contest for the promo code giveaways was wrapped up. Deadline was October 23rd for both promo code contests for the card creation as well as for the podcast. I mean, it's time to go over those winners. And big thanks to everybody who submitted for both contests. The one was the card creation contest got a lot more feedback. I think we got 20 entries in that, which was nice. That's 20 entries, people creating cards that they want to see, fun stuff, interesting stuff, goofy stuff, a little bit of everything in between. Most of the things that I got were images that people had shared or that they had used the assets for to create something like armored support here. This is just an entry to point out. This was something that actually had been created a little bit earlier. Somebody else had submitted for another contest. They put it out again. 8 energy, choose a vehicle from your faction, put in play. Just something as simple as this. A little bit of artwork there, building the frame. I did get probably about 5 or 6, maybe 7 entries, so not quite half of those were just text entries, because you weren't required to build the card. That's okay. Just mainly get out the details what the card was. What I found interesting is that some of those cards throughout both sides of things, some of them shared an interesting concept. Not all of them, but a few of them kind of lean towards certain things. So it was a little bit difficult to decide. But ultimately, we'll go over the 3 winners here. But before we do, I want to show off some of the other entries that we had. And again, a big thanks to everybody who submitted for that. So like I said, we did have this armored support. This was one of the entries in there that we received. We also received some warlords. One of the warlords here submitted was Talus Valkorn. I actually think this was not a bad warlord idea. It's a Night Lord's warlord with Requiem, which is a little different. But the Requiems deal 2 damage to a random enemy, and given the Night Lords in their current state, with troops that are very low health, it seems like a Requiem that actually could be beneficial. And then you've got an ability to draw a card. That's nice. Just something creative, little something, not adding anything crazy game-breaking to the game, but giving something to a faction that maybe could make use of it. Not a bad submission there. We've also got some submissions that were outside the box. This is not only a Carnage symbiote. This is also, if you can take a look at it, this is My Little Pony. It's a friendly Carnage. The Darzak is our resident pony brony's the right term. Get it right. I don't know if he's really a brony, but he got some good artwork here, because who doesn't like a sick and twisted pony? It's very 40k-ish with the demons, but outside the box here, Terror, Rally, and Battle Honor all on a 5/7 unit attack and unit. So this is just some samples of the creative stuff in here. Also, big shout out to Darzak for the little thumbnail creation there, making that Captain Scuffy of the Mournival on the thumbnail. So that was fun. Another good warlord. I want to share this with. This is something where somebody just took the image of the model and made use of that. And we got Lord Marshal putting in place some Velaterra, so it's an Imperial Army warlord. But again, just being creative, getting people to be creative was nice. This one's very simple. Here's a secret order. Now, this is a secret order that plays with traps. It's a card that works for both ends. I thought that was really clever. I think the player who created this actually got on the card creation Discord to build this one specifically. So that was nice to see some new involvement in the community in a different way. And hopefully they found the assets useful and enjoyable. I like how the text is laid out here. Seemed pretty good. Now this was one here, Swarm of Servo Skulls. This is just one card of several concepts I received through the course of the submission. So the text here, the Swarm of Service Skulls, not a whole lot here. It's a 0-2, but the text of this really seems to be what a lot of people wanted to see in the game, something that dealt with stealth, duplicitous, and precognition, or duplicitous and precognition, or ward and duplicitous. There was a lot of anti stuff. So ward, duplicitous, precognition, stealth, they all have a way to prevent something. And several people had the ideas of getting something out there that deals with that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting theme. Could be something to see. I don't know if we want to see it in a neutral to this degree, or to the degree of what we got there, or just be happy with what we've got. But great minds think alike, and we had a lot of great minds thinking and great minds submitting. Here's another one we had here. You could just imagine what this could play with some energy refilling, or some drilling sites late game. The Moment Shackle on a Nassau or an Amon, which is juiced up a whole bunch. You can just imagine how that's going to roll. This was one that I liked, Brother Amsu. I like this one. This came, I think, right before we got the Thousand Sun final rework patch. I think with the Thousand Suns as they are currently, this might be a little bit too much now. But at the time, I was like, oh, that's not too bad. You can bounce this one, or Issachar, or to give your Warlord precognition several times. It's a 4/4, so it's not terribly powerful. But at the same time, where they're at now, I don't know if the Thousand Suns, you want to see that much precognition on things. So I don't know. Now, this is one of the winners here. This is just oily abs, right? Who doesn't like custodians with oily abs? This might seem not fantastic, and I'll admit there's some grammar errors there. It should be a capital A, as well as, kind of detailing what type of abs it is. Is it the upper? Is it the middle? Is it the lower? Is it the the crotch gut or the groin muscles that go in there? There's an appropriate word for that I'm not going to use, but this one I just thought was fun. For 5 energy, removing Sentinel from all troops in your hand or deck as a legendary card. That's something to consider. Custodians definitely need something with regards to Sentinel. So I thought that this was worthy. So winner here, this is 7 Circles getting a promo code worth 1,000 gold. So congratulations. This is one of the ones that came in via text. And again, I had several of these, but this one I thought was really good too, because this takes an approach to a faction that could use something. 4E legendary tactic for Death Guard, so it's legendary. Surrender to suffering. You remove poison from an enemy infantry or Astartes that has poison, and then you give it a mark of Nurgle and take control of it. So basically, that whole corruption, that surrendering, I think the image that they pitched, or the idea, they didn't have a screenshot, was basically like, Mortarion giving in to Nurgle on his way to escape the warp to arrive at Terra. And that's really kind of an interesting idea, but also giving the Death Guard something to kind of control and make use of poison a little bit more. I thought that was really clever. So Germaner, you're also getting 1,000 gold promo code. So congratulations on that. And then the last winner we've got here, another Death Guard. Now this one's got a lot of text, and I thought it was complex, but I liked it enough for a variety of reasons. Number one, this does something for each warlord differently. You got a 3/5 stock for 4, but if your warlord's Mortarion, it becomes a 5/4 with Terra. If it's Typhon, it's a sneak attack that is a 2/6. If it's Rask, it's got Cleave 2 and Drop Pod, which works well with his ability. And then if it's Garrow, it's got Sacrifice to put in play a Soric Bike, which is also a fast unit, but also works with Garrow's ability. This seems like it's really clustered, and it certainly is. By all means, that's a lot of text, but at the same time, I like the idea of having cards that do something a little bit more with specific either opponents or specific warlords in mind to really amplify it. You don't need to have 5 or 10 cards that do something with Garrow, but if you make Legion-specific cards that do something a little differently for every warlord, it becomes a card that's very useful, should go in every deck, but will never work the same in every deck. On top of that, if you've got Silver Bullets for, versus Raven Guard, this card gains whatever, you might see some more interesting takes on the matchups in the meta. And we've seen that we've seen that with only a couple cards in the game currently. The way Sisters of Silence specifically target psychers, right? They've got these extra cards that just do extra damage against psychers. Boom, +2 if the enemy troop has psyker. Or how about the good old not prosecuted mistress? I'm thinking here, nope, not cleansing flame. Where is it? Oh, that's right. It's a 1 energy, right? The cadre tactics. Novice sister? No, Imperial Scourge. I knew it was 1 energy. 3 damage to all enemies if they have Psyker for 1. Just something targeted like that. That it's a trait, but at the same time, it's very specific against 1,000 Suns, who are the only faction who has that trait. So imagine if you've got a couple cards in each faction that do something against their rivals, right? The Iron Warriors have got some cards that specifically drop hate on any troop that has Bastion, or deal X damage to enemy Warlord, where X is troop with Bastion, something like that. It could be really interesting and basically add a level of grudge matches to the game. So that's just tangents and thinking creative, and again, happy to see people were being creative there. Big shout out to everybody who submitted for that. Congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to everybody who's actually took the time to think about it, and hopefully get a little bit interested. Speaking of grudge matches and creative things, before I announce the winners of the podcast raffle, we'll take a quick look at the Terra Inflame event. Now, this is not, it's been teased as the first time that we've had joint lodge events, and that's in draft mode. That is certainly true, and actually I think only one time prior to this, back in beta, we had events that had several decks that were a combination, and it was really just the first 4 factions. We had Emperor's Children, Death Guard, World Leaders, and Sons of Horus intermixed. So you'd have a Emperor's Children and a Sons of Horus pseudo deck with a Warlord. I don't think any of them were Primarchs, and obviously it was a different time with a different card pool, and now this is a draft mode that can allow for some crazy options. I'm just running this to try it first go. Most of it is Sons of Horus cards, but I did have a couple of World Leader cards that I put, or not Iron Warriors cards that I put in there. I was mainly tagging up with Iron Warriors, honestly, to try to grab some extra direct damage, precision targeting, or Contrador. Didn't get that, but I liked the idea. And it shakes up the draft a whole bunch. And I've seen some really interesting stuff. Custodians, Imperial Fist, World Eaters, and Sons of Horus, Iron Warriors, and Emperor's Children, Sons of Horus. Like, the combinations are out there, are really cool. I hope we don't get this every event. To be fair, I hope we don't get this every event, but I do hope we see this a little bit more often, especially as the story point is converging and all the factions are piling on. Talking about the prizing here, either which way, these are very, very interesting cards. Legendary, you've got a 3 that could heal an insane amount at the cost of a troop that maybe you're not going to do anything with. Or you've got a 9 high cost card. It's going to make all chaos troops in your hand deck 0. Now, this is potentially very problematic. Baleful Assembly, obviously making a Saul Tarvitz or any Emperor's Children deck that is willing to run the high cost demons and make them 0 cost. Your chaos troops include Father Decay and Yuri the Seducer and Slayer of the Worlds. Like, just for 9 they all become 0, and late game you have 4 or 5 cards in your hand and you drop 4 or 5 greater demons. That is insane. That the potential of, and when I say late game for Saul is like 5 energy. So I don't know. I don't want this card to work that way. I don't think it would forever. I like the idea of the artwork and the card. I like the idea and the artwork of the card for this. I don't think either of these will majorly, well, I can't say either. I think if Baleful Assembly changes and enters the game, we'll have a different shade of Desperate Defense. The difference is none of those demons have frontline, so they're in lies a little bit of a win window, and you can stun them and jack up their maintenance. And so I mean that there's ways to play around it, but it's not something that you'd want to see. It would feel really, really odd and high swing. But I do hope we see this type of ally event feature here, at least for a few more events, or every 2 or 3 events. I'd like for us to see some more things beyond the event. I'd like to see a raid. I'd like to see the Q&A announced on the Discord. You know what I'd really like to see, guys? You know what I'd really like to see? I'd like to see some more deck slots, and you know it. You know I'm up on those deck slots. I've got some stuff here. Got some stuff I'm gearing up for my games against Vapex this afternoon for the Lodge Wars 5. So we'll be playing that. We'll be doing some updates, and we'll be talking about it on the Warp Chatter podcast. I think episode recording today, we're talking about the Iron Hands. So there's a lot going on. I do like that we got something, but I feel like there's a lot that we haven't gotten. And when I say a lot, not necessarily content, I mean communication. I want to see updates on the game. I want to see what we're looking at when we're getting our 5th Warlords, when we're getting our new expansion. I want to be able to share that news with you guys. I hope that in 5 or 6 days there's another big patch update, and I can do a video talking about how the Night Lords or Custodes got buffed. Like, fingers crossed. But I don't know. So I can't get ahead of myself. So all I can do is give promo codes, 1,000 gold to players who want it, who submitted for it. And with that being said, we're going to announce the winners of the podcast raffle. Now, this is just a raffle. This was just podcast listeners, PM me, tell me what your favorite episode of the podcast was and why. It seemed so simple, and yet I only had 6 submissions. The submission window was very small. So either A, not a whole lot of people are listening to the podcast anymore, which makes me sad. Although the feedback and the data shows that I'm roughly getting about 200 to 160 listens per episode on various platforms. So I don't know. Or people who do listen didn't really want to submit for the gold, and that's okay too. Or they just didn't have a favorite episode, which makes me sad. So if you do listen to the podcast, hit me up in the comments, put that in there. I appreciate it. Spread the word. Spread the word about the podcast. Or if you would like to be on the podcast and you haven't already got in touch with me, PM me, hit me up, and I'll get you on the schedule, because I like to book it out. I think we've got about 4 or 5 weeks booked out right now, but there's always people to talk to. The game community continues to go on, even though it waxes and wanes at times. We're in the waning period. Let's make it strong. Let's have fun. Okay, so winners. So this was just a raffle. I got 6 names. I signed a number 1 through 6. I rolled a D6 a few times till I got the 3 winners, because if I re-rolled the number 2, I had to re-roll it 2 more times before I got a new number, because number 2 won. Number 2 is Terse, who guested on episode 28. Funnily enough, episode 28 is his favorite episode of the Warp Chatter podcast. He said it was awesome, and the guy showed so much insight, and it was very entertaining. I don't know if there's some bias in that episode, pick or not, but I appreciate the shout out. Winner number 2 is Germaner. Now, Germaner also was the winner for the card creation contest, so he's getting 2 promo codes for 1,000 gold each, because he submitted in both contests. His favorite episode was episode 18, the White Tiger Yao, when we were talking about the White Scars. But it was the first episode he heard, or also the live stream with Kanda, because those guys just seem really friendly and laid back, and they certainly were. We had the live stream, and then we actually talked with them later on after they won the World Cup, when we got the podcast back up online. But he says he's going to go with episode 27. So he went through 3 episodes, and he finally stuck on episode 27, which is Night Lords Are Terrible, because you had my brother 7 Circles on. It's his lodge mate, so he's giving a shout out to his lodge mate. So there we go. It's 3 different episodes. If you haven't heard any of them, check them out. We've got some guests. We've got some topics. We had good times on them. Germaner, thank you much for your comments. And then winner number 3 goes out to Lacarian Ape, who actually guested on podcast a couple times. But he just said his favorite episode podcast was episode 5, which was our very first Canadian invasion. We had on that several, I think 2 or 3 Canadian guests, Shay Goofin, Axel Manning's from Canada as well, and I believe I think Pirate or LC was on. One of those other. It was all Canada except for me. So it was the first Canadian invasion, and we had some Canadian questions asked about manners and being polite. And I don't know. I don't think we talked about syrup at all, but good stuff. Good stuff. So Locarian Ape, you're also getting 1,000 gold. Promo code. That's the prizing, guys. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to do these promo code giveaways now that I've given them away. I will see if I can pester every guild for some more, maybe make this a routine thing. I don't know if this will supplant the card or the deck list creation contest that I used to do. I haven't heard back from them if they are okay with starting that up again or not, which I hope that they are, but there's been some changeover with the community management lately, so I don't know. You can take that what it is. Like, you can take that. Does that mean that they're shifting focus and gears? Does it mean that they're not being responsive? Does it mean that they're trying to be a little bit more frugal in what they share or not? I don't know. I don't have any insight to that. I wish I did. I certainly would share it with you. Try to keep people educated or alert or aware as far as what's going on, because I figure if you know what's going on in the game and you know that the game is still going, the community is still going, we're getting responses, we've got scheduled Q&As, updates, anything like that, then you can get involved. Now, one thing that we do have that we're looking into, and I say we, Orthanol is actually the one who's looking into it. He's looking into making a card creation contest a regular thing again. This used to be something that we did a long time ago on the Discord, and as time went on and support and interest kind of fell off, we kind of stopped doing it. I'd like to think that this promo code and contest that I did here kind of breathed new life into it, as well as some people wanting to try something different besides weekly tournaments. So if you submitted or you missed out on the submission window, you would like to try something like this, take a look on the Discord. Keep your eyes out on that. We don't have any news yet, but that is something that we would like to get set up and have a little bit more structure as far as how judging is made, how cards are ranked and scored, and make prizing an option for people who really have enthusiasm and creative about the game. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that for everybody out there who wants to participate and keeps participating, because, you know, we've got people here in the global chat. We've got people in the global chat here every day, but we seem to have the same people in the global chat every day. Hey, shout out to K-Nile. K-Nile, I got your submission too. I think yours, hang on, while I got K-Nile up here. K-Nile, yes, K-Nile's submission was a text for 10 energy Mechanicum legendary tactic called STC Fragments, with the text, give your warlord Relentless, put in play a random vehicle or structure. Now, that could be crazy. That could be not crazy. I mean, there's low cost and high cost of both those. For 10 energy, I felt that was a little bit pricey, but at the same time, it's a legendary, and at the same time, I wouldn't want to, at 4 energy, see every turn of Lernia Hydra on board. So I don't know, but that was a tough call for me. That was up there, but I felt like that was definitely would just make people flip tables a little bit too much. He did say there's a little bit more flavor than substance, but you know what? Fair enough. Appreciate the shout out, the submission, K-Nile, and I'll just give you a shout out while I'm scrolling past you. But the point is, I'm seeing the same names here. I'd like to see more names. I'd like to see more names in Discord. I'd like to see more names in the community. I'd like to see more names in contests that get submitted or tournaments that get held. I'd like to see more names out there, and that's why I do what I do, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that you share for anybody who's interested in the game or who's played the game, who hasn't heard, who hasn't checked things out. We do way more than just card by cards here on this channel. I do deck lists, I do updates as far as the news, the data. We do the podcast. We also talk about, the training cage concepts, which it's been a while since I've done those. I should dust off some more ideas and kind of go over those. Time is limited sometimes, but we'll do what we can. In the meantime, that's it. I've kind of rambled the last 2 minutes. I hope you appreciate it. Congratulations to the winners. Keep your eyes out for more things to come. And until next time, keep playing Legions. Bye.